Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation. You think you know, but you don't even know the tip of the iceberg. Come down the rabbit hole with me and discover what truly lies under the surface. By 2022, Gates has donated $60 billion of his own money to the Gates Foundation. And by 2026, that number is going to be $70 billion. Every year, the Gates Foundation has a $9 billion operating budget. That's insane. Where does this money go? Whose pockets are they lining? What happens to $9 billion a year? And this is in direct comparison to people like Elon Musk, who spent $44 billion of his own money to acquire Twitter so he could champion free speech. Meanwhile, the Gates Foundation somehow figures out how to keep their charitable contributions growing year over year. That's a lot of money to keep track of. Let's explore one place this money went to and see who it benefited. In 2008, the Gates Foundation funded a very small research group in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They were on the absolute verge of bankruptcy, and they had to move on to another project because they simply couldn't find any American or international investors to invest in their research. And they were becoming very close to getting a cure to African sleeping sickness, but they needed an influx of money to do this. So you know what they did? They got the money from the Gates Foundation, and now they're on the line for $15 million. Yeah, you know what $15 million would buy you? They were working on a cure for African sleeping sickness, a parasite that is spread by tsetse flies in Africa. You know, people that are found suffering in the later stages of this disease have no energy, they can't do anything, they start having illusions because they can't sleep. There was no cure to African sleeping sickness. If you got it and you lived out there, you were as good as dead. You became kind of a breeding ground of sorts for the disease to replicate in your body. And there's not much you can do because you have no energy and you're going crazy because you haven't slept. You have terrible delusions. Well, that just spreads the disease more because you've become a vector for these things to thrive. The Gates Foundation came in and gave them $15 million, a $15 million grant to continue their research. They had to accept this. No one else in America was willing to give them money to solve a problem that's happening thousands of miles away and only affects a very small subset of people, of very poverty-stricken people. And this is a terrible, terrible disease. And it's spread by these horrible tsetse flies that use these razors in their mandibles that slice the skin of the person that they're biting. They're just a terrible nuisance to anyone that lives near water in West Africa. African sleeping sickness only affects the most disenfranchised, most poverty-stricken people in the most remote places of Africa. Curing these people is not profitable. So given the fact that this disease only affects people in a very small population, in a very small section of the world, what does Gates have to gain from curing these people? What is really going on? By the end of this video, I'll let you come to your own conclusions. You have to think for yourself. The Gates Foundation tells a story about how after this cure came online, they went to the remote parts of Africa. I believe it was Congo. It was dangerous. You had to deal in corruption to get to where you're going, and no one trusts you because you're a colonialist. You're there and they have a very terrible distrust of you. So how do you get people to trust you? Well, you employ the local population. And I'll tell you a story how they got someone on the inside track of their organization to help other people in their situation. And they came across this person, this woman, huddled in the back alley corner of this very, very small village. And she was depleted. She was starving. She had no energy because she was fully infected by this terrible disease, this parasite that you get from the tsetse flies. Well, the local shaman deemed her as being possessed by a devil. So no one helped her. There was nothing that they could do. And people knew that this was just something that happens. The Gates Foundation found this woman and treated her with this novel cure. Well, this woman is still around at this time. And now, I don't know how they brainwashed her, but she's working for the Gates Foundation. She's helping people in her local community that are suffering from this terrible disease. I don't know what the Gates Foundation is benefiting from this, but it's something. It must be a tax write-off or something. I don't know what it is. But to have this victim become part of the organization that's helping to cure people, unthinkable. And part of the treatment is education. So they've indoctrinated these people that they cure, to work for them. Maybe for free, maybe for money, I don't know, I'm not sure. But the truth of this whole thing is they came in there and they helped these people suffer no longer from a very easily curable tropical disease, a parasite, using a cure that they helped make. We don't know what they're getting from this, but I'm going to get to the bottom. I think you should too. And fast forward to today, the amount of cases for African sleeping sickness are on the decline. At least that's what they say. Who knows? There's so much more that the Gates Foundation does day to day. I'm not going to sit here and dissect every single thing they do, because this one thing, I'll let you make your own decision.